is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Have to return some videotapes. 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 Videotapes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Strange Glow Video. My name is Justin. With me as always is Alec. How's it going?
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad. I see you're wearing your nice, lovely jacket.
It's my him. It's a robe. Yeah, it's a him.
robe.
Is the character's name. It's
Yeah.
like a transgender demon.
Yeah, it's a robe. You've been wearing that all the time. Is that room cold or something?
Sometimes it's just like I like having a comfier spot for the cats to lay and stuff when I'm in here too.
Okay, that's
They
fair.
always are like, all right, let me on that lap. It's just a easier like spot, and it's like having a blanket on here for them.
That's fair. So tonight we're going to talk about our most anticipated movies of 2025, and obviously it's early in the year. Release dates change, things change, but there's a ton of stuff slated for 2025, and we're going to talk about it. I didn't particularly put mine in any kind of an order.
I did, but it's all right.
Just kind of as we go through there, I figure we'll talk about some similar movies, obviously, and then there's probably a few ones that we'll have some differences of opinion on. And then after we talk about I think we chose about 10 each. And then after that, we'll just kind of talk about some other ones we know are coming in this year and maybe just wrap on those a little bit, maybe talk some shit on some of those.
Yeah.
So if you numbered yours, what's your number 10?
Number 10 for me is Mortal Kombat 2.
Mortal Kombat 2.
I'll preface this by saying there's not a lot of great things on this schedule, so I had to put some imagination into this.
Yeah, to me, this year's schedule it's interesting. There's some stuff I'm excited about, but there's only a few things that I'm like, yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that right now. But there's also a ton of stuff listed for this year that doesn't have a trailer out yet. So,
yeah,
we'll kind of see how that all pans out.
It has some interesting things going for it. There's a couple characters that were missing. Johnny Cage, they're supposed to actually do the tournament in this movie, so we'll just see where that ends up going.
Yeah, there's no trailer for this out yet. There's tons of fakes out there, which are really dumb.
No surprise there.
Yeah, so like it's I mean, I'm sure some people are finding use for AI, but all the fucking fake trailers is so annoying because like you just try to search for anything and if it like looks like an obscure channel, just don't even bother. Right? Look for a reputable source, go from there because that's all you're going to get. Junk. So I guess we'll start with my number 10 and like I said, I didn't really order these, but the Karate Kid Legends looks kind of interesting to me.
I listed that out when I was making my initial list of everything that I found interesting.
Yeah, I think it's, they're bringing the reboot in together with the original series here with this. So I think that's kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, for sure.
So that has my attention, and it doesn't look like it's leaning too heavily into the TV series. Looks like it's going to kind of pick up after that, I'm assuming.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we'll see how much of that. I'm sure some of that will come into play because that's what people want, is all of it coming together.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we even got some Hillary Swank in there.
That wouldn't be that far-fetched.
Actually together.
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point, you're really kind of at that level. So yeah, that was the number 10, the ending out my list here. So
nice. Well, my number 9 is coming out September 26th, and it's The Bride, which is a Bride of Frankenstein movie. It's coming out with it's directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. and I don't know the actor who's playing the bride. Otherwise, I would have written their name down. I know Christian Bale is playing Frankenstein's monster, though.
And to my knowledge, again, another movie with no trailer yet.
Yeah, no. Most
So.
of these don't. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say
that one's interesting enough. Like, they're doing Universal Monster stuff, even if they're not doing direct stuff. Like, this is, I don't know, the vibe could be more like Renfield or something like that than, classic Universal Monster stuff. But I don't know because there's nothing to go off of yet.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about this movie, and just from what I've heard about it so far, is that you're starting with the bride. And so is that going to establish canon? Is this somehow going to be a sequel to something else in any way, shape, or form? Like, does this leave the option open to go back? I don't know if any of that matters or if any of that's real, but it is
Yeah.
fascinating that they're starting right there. But I think, I mean, you say enough people know the origins of the Frankenstein monster that you don't need to do that, but really, when was the last time we had a true Frankenstein movie? Robert De Niro, when it was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and that was,
I believe
wanna
so.
say? Yeah.
There's been others, but they're all like low budget and like not mainstream or not universal.
Yeah, and then they're not really tying anything together in these movies yet, right? The kinda dark universe concept was thrown out the window, but
I am excited for the Dark Universe like theme park that's coming though. They have like
yes.
the flaming windmill as a bar and stuff from Frankenstein. That's
Yeah,
gonna rule, dude.
that looks really cool. Yeah, so
So
that one didn't make my list just because mostly err on my side. When I was looking at movies, that didn't come across.
just called The Bride, you were like, what the fuck is that? I don't care.
Yeah, I may have scrolled right by it. So, because I knew they were doing The Bride of Frankenstein, I wasn't sure if that was going to be this year, but I didn't realize they simplified the title. So
Yeah.
that's fair, but that's a good shout. My number 9 is Anaconda, scheduled to come out on Christmas Day. And we briefly talked about this offline earlier, but Jack Black and Paul Rudd in a movie that is allegedly going to be about two Anaconda fans trying to remake the movie or make their own version of the movie of something to
I
that
think
nature.
they are traveling to the like original film locations and doing it from what I gather, but
Okay.
we'll see what actually happens with that because that would make for an actual funny movie,
Yeah. If they encountered a real anaconda while they're doing all that.
That'd be amazing. I don't know because it could be good if this is gonna be like partially found footage. I don't imagine all of it will be, but like partially found footage would be good to see some of the camera angles because they're shooting it right. That's what you want. And then
Yeah. That has lots of fun options for making it really unique to watch for sure.
and I love Paul Rudd and so do you, so we're good there. But I'm not a huge Jack Black fan, but I love Anaconda and Paul Rudd, so I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, that's why that one made my list. I like most of what Paul Rudd's done. He's pretty funny. And him and Jack Black, not the biggest Jack Black fan in the world, but I don't hate him. I'm just kind of meh, It's like, sometimes he's decent, sometimes he's annoying. So it just depends on the movie. But I've got hopes for this one since him and Paul Rudd will be in it, but we'll see.
The only movie that he stars in that I like is School of Rock. And you were probably too old when that came out to appreciate it, but
I mean, I saw it and I liked it well enough, but it wasn't one of those movies I watched a ton.
yeah, I mean, I was a teenager when it came out, so it was like, or a young, like I was like 12 or 13, so it was kind of age appropriate. Well, my number 8 is coming out in March 28th. Also stars Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega. It's called Death of a Unicorn. Now,
Yeah,
there is a
so
trailer for this.
I did see that trailer, and I didn't have this on my list earlier because when I just saw Death of the Unicorn, I didn't even look into it. But earlier tonight, I just threw on a YouTube compilation of trailers, and that one popped up, and I was like, Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I saw they're talking about that. I was like, okay, that's got my attention.
It seems like it's an A24 horror movie. Like maybe they run over a unicorn and it comes back to life and haunts them and like tries to murder them or some shit. I don't know. Like we'll see what kind of vibe it ends up actually being, but because the trailer wasn't like super clear, which I like. I don't want to know the whole thing, but
Yeah, I like how there's some ambiguity in the trailer, and it looks kind of dark, looks kind of creepy. So I was excited to see that when it came through the compilation there. So my number 8 is The Monkey. So this is based on a Stephen King film or a novel, Stephen King novel.
directed by Osgood Perkins.
Yeah, it looks pretty fascinating. Like just in the trailer, like, you know, if you've seen the trailer there.
Did you get to see Long Legs yet?
I've not.
You need to find a streaming copy, or even if you have to do it illegally or whatever, and check that movie out because that's the same director as this one.
Okay. Yeah, but the trailer for this just looked really gory and interesting, and you know, tons of Stephen King stuff gets adapted to varying levels of quality, but this one actually looked pretty good. And just that initial trailer shot where like the guy's asking about the monkey and then that lady gets fucking shot. It's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And the blood splatter from that was like really, really on point. So it immediately had my attention.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It looks pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
My number 7 is coming out June 20th. It's the third in a franchise and has another movie coming out next year. 28 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, again, I'm not super stoked on this, like any of the movies I've listed yet. I'm just kind of like, it could be good. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
It has Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, who is a guy who's in some stuff. Like in December, he was literally in Craven, probably the worst received movie of the month, and Nosferatu, maybe the best. You know what I mean? He was in both of those, and he's in lots of great stuff. He's a great actor. He just, I don't know, like a lot of them, picks some shitty movies to be in sometimes, or the movie ends up being shitty. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it could be a shitty edit, could be shitty rewrites on set, but yeah, he's done some of those. Like, I mean, he's fucking great in Kick-Ass.
yeah, that's what I
Fucking
mean. The
awesome in
Kick-Ass
that.
movies, both of those are great. I wish they would have done a third one before they were all super old.
Yeah, and so, you know, obviously he played the first version of Quicksilver.
Yeah, he did that too, and he was in the Godzilla
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah, it just seems like Craven the Hunter was a huge misstep. I mean, aiming for top billing, I get it. You know, you're trying to be into the bigger world, but I'm like, I think you had more of an impact in the superhero genre as Kick-Ass than you did in any of this.
You know what? It's just occurred to me now that he and Scarlet Witch are brother and sister, right? And then in Godzilla, they play husband and wife.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody should edit some gnarly clips together because there's scenes with her like jumping on him and they're making out.
Yeah, that'd be real fucking weird.
So yeah, that's my number 7. You know, what's his face is supposed to be coming back. We'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah, that's on my list as well. 28 years later. And like I said, I didn't number these, but I will throw that at number 7 just because we're kind of on the same page there. I really liked the first one. It was such a concept movie. It's one of those earlier movies that I remember giving me like some existential dread because a lot of movies would have tried to have a happier ending, but this kind of like just left you on the note of like, fuck.
Yeah.
And I really like that about that movie. The second one is less memorable for me just because I haven't been back to revisit it as frequently. You know, I've probably seen it 3 times total. Not a movie I've watched a lot. I enjoyed it, but that first one really stands out. So,
yeah, for sure. I agree with that statement.
And then I am a little worried that they have 2 movies planned already.
Agreed.
So to me, like, does that mean you couldn't tell a fucking good story for this 4th one or the 3rd one, and then you have to do a 4th?
It's called like Blood Temple or Death Temple or some shit, isn't it? I don't know what it is, but
yeah, it's got some silly fucking subtitle because it's 28 years later with a subtitle, and I'm like, did you have 2 concepts that were so good that you wanted to have some overlap there? Because that might be interesting, but anytime you do 2 movies like that right away, it's a little scary, especially how long it's been since we had a sequel to this, and all of a sudden we're gonna have 2 years in a row with a sequel.
Yeah.
Not looking good on paper for sure.
Well, my number 6 is coming out July 18th. Doesn't have an official title right now, but it is the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel that they're putting out.
Okay.
It's a sequel reboot. Freddie Prinze Jr. is involved still. So is what is that? Jennifer Love Hewitt's supposed to be coming back, and plus new cast. We'll just have to see. Honestly, like again, it's just because it's a iconic slasher. I really like the first movie. The second one's decent. I don't even know if I've seen the third one, so it's like I got to see that before this, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think that third one is like
It might have been direct to video. I don't know.
I don't know if I've ever seen it either. I mean, that will be nice though to go be able to see some of these sequels and check them out and just kind of get an idea what they're going to be all about. But if you're going to go back that route, it makes me feel like they're going for the Scream Halloween vibe of like, hey, this franchise was decent enough, so let's see what we can do with it. So
Yeah. There was a series they did too. I didn't ever watch that though.
was that like an MTV series or something?
No, it was like streaming somewhere, I think.
Interesting.
I don't know. Scream, the Scream one was MTV, and I've never seen that either, but I've heard it's actually decent, but I don't know. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is The Black Phone 2.
I never saw the first one.
The Black Phone I really quite enjoyed. I didn't see it till it was on streaming, but
Glad to enjoy it.
we watched that and it had some pretty good vibes to it. It was pretty unique, and not to get too spoiler heavy, but like you don't know what's fucking the ending, you're not sure what's really real and like what's imagined and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a mind fuck. So the fact that there's another one coming is interesting. And that one's more like emotional and mental terror more so than physical terror and violence, you know? So it's kind of one of those movies that just fucks with you. So I think that's why I'm looking forward to another one.
Fancy. Well, my number 5 is one we've already talked about, but Anaconda. We'll just have to see what happens with that one, like I said before. So
yeah, I could see that. I could understand that. My number 5 is Superman, and this is one I debated on having on the list.
I don't give a fuck about Superman.
Ultimately, I left it on there, and this is why. Like, I've never been a huge Superman fan.
You got Captain America or Fantastic Four on your list? Now I'm curious. We got to get to this.
Well, Superman's interesting because I've never like really gotten down and watched the original Superman movies. You know I saw Superman Returns when that came out in what was that, the early 2000s. And then we saw the whole DCEU thing like just become a flaming pile of hot garbage that I just couldn't really care about. So I'm hoping for a Superman story that'll be good. That said, since James Gunn is involved with this and he is also involved with Darkburn, I'm curious how Darkburn's going to influence this. Because I think there's going to be some things from that like that you would almost take from that, you know, because that's basically like the dark Superman origin. Was that what's called? Brightburn, I think maybe.
I forget. I don't fucking know, dude.
I don't remember, but so that's just kind of on there because it's interesting to me. I don't know where it'll go from there though. So
yeah, I think James Gunn's hit or miss. I'm less of a James Gunn fan, but hey, it's all right.
I mean, I'm not saying I love all of his stuff. Like his version of Suicide Squad was better than the other version, but I didn't really love it. It's not a movie I'm going to go back and watch again.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
my number 4 we already talked about too, The Monkey. So that looks interesting. Again, I really liked Long Legs. The anticipation of it and everything, the marketing pissed me off about it, made me like it less initially, but it definitely grew on me. And it's like a David Lynchy style Silence of the Lambs movie. So like, pretty sick.
Yeah.
So we'll see about the monkey.
I'm hoping it's got some good stuff to it. So we're down to number 4 already, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see. Where are we looking at here on my list? All right. Number 4, I'm going to say Jurassic World Rebirth. And I say that now because the trailer drops on Wednesday and I could fucking completely change my mind. But I've got hope for this movie just because we're back to the original screenwriter who co-wrote the original version with Michael Crichton, right? You know, Michael Crichton wrote the novel and then he co-wrote the movie with this, who's I forget what his name is off the top of my head, and that's just lazy of me right now, but I'm also kind of tired, so you just got to
Yeah.
deal with it.
I feel you.
But it seems interesting enough. And like the last trilogy, I liked Jurassic World. The other two, like they wanted to have hope. They wanted to have things that were good in there. And there's some fleeting moments in those movies that are pretty good. But overall, the only one of those, that second trilogy that I care to watch is Jurassic World. And that's not even a every year watch for me anymore. You know, when it first came out, I liked it a few times. And now I'd rather just go back and watch the original trilogy.
Yeah, the original trilogy is pretty awesome. Like, those are movies that's how Jurassic Park you think of. I mean, some might say they're too repetitive, but like Jurassic World is more repetitive than Lost World or number 3, in the sense that it's about the park again. This time, oh yeah, I get the park's open now, but like, I don't know, it didn't do too much for me. There was a little chaos, but like they were not trying to make a horror movie. They were trying to make a family disaster fun movie, adventure, summer blockbuster. So there's less of like the carnage that could have occurred. And the other two, I really honestly, I'm not excited for this one. I don't give a shit at this point.
Okay.
I might see it, and be proved wrong because of my low expectations. But
I mean, for me, after Dominion, anything back there is going to have some stuff. And then I will say there's one scene in the first book that they've been teasing at that they basically added into there because it wasn't in the original trilogy, right? The first 3 movies really used stuff from the books. Hell, even the third movie used a ton of stuff from the first book, at least concepts and things of that nature. So I'm hoping that we'll kind of see that in this. And it's kind of this river scene where they're going down the river and the T-Rex is hunting them while swimming.
yeah,
So if that makes it in the movie, that would be cool. But there's plenty of stuff that just never made it into that original trilogy of movies from the books. So I'm
wait,
excited for
are you
that.
saying they're going down a river and being hunted by the T-Rex?
Yeah, not the Spinosaur. So
Yeah, but like that's an adaptation of that scene, I feel like still.
it's more intense than how they portrayed it, though.
Yeah, but I doubt they'll portray it as intense in this shit. I just, based on the last 3 movies, they want these to be fun adventure movies, not horror movies. And I mean, the first one has that, but it has an underlying horror element. So do the,
Oh yeah, I mean,
honestly,
well,
both of those.
it needs to be scary again, and I think that's what the other movies got away from was, yeah, Indominus Rex was a little bit unnerving for probably a young audience. Like as an adult, I don't give a shit. It wasn't scary to me at all.
Yeah.
But you're looking at that average family movie goer, they're going to feel a little bit of scare out of that. Right? Show it to a kid too young, and they're going to have nightmares on it. So, but you have to have a scary element. But yeah, that's on my list. So,
My number 3 is coming out November 7th. It's going to be directed by Edgar Wright. It's going to star Glenn Powell. Is that the dude's name from Twisters and stuff?
The Running Man.
Oh, yes. See, I'd actually just watched the original like a week or 2 ago.
Oh, really? I'm about halfway through it. I started it the other night and fell asleep. It's just on streaming, so I was like, I'm going to watch that since the remake's coming this year.
I have the DVD, and I wasn't even thinking about that when I wanted to watch it. I had just like had it in a stack sitting in the bedroom of suggestions for us to watch. Like I'll give her 5 movies, and a
Make her
couple of them
pick.
will be like things that like are The Running Man, which she isn't going to pick. She'll pick like horror movies or dramas, comedies, disaster movies. But like I always shouldn't like zombie movies, so I've been sneaking in the remake of Dawn of the Dead in there, like
Subliminal advertising.
trying to get her to pick it. But same thing
Yeah.
with The Running Man, and I finally got her to watch it,
Okay.
and I think she was unimpressed. But either way, I had a great time with it. I love that movie. I didn't see it till adulthood. I was like, "Where's this been all my life?" You know, Dynamo is the coolest fucking outfit I've ever seen in a movie. Cooler
It's
than Boba
fucking
Fett.
yeah. It's ridiculous, and it's one of those movies. Yeah, I never saw it as a kid. We're like all the fucking action movies we watched and we rented. That was just one that was just never on the radar, and it just meant it, it just must not have hit us like when it was on HBO, Showtime, or Cinemax, because we had all three growing up. So we had all the movie channels.
Yeah.
So it just never hit on there, right? Or we never caught it. So either way, I
But
didn't
yeah,
put that on my list just because I'm interested in that. It's on my overall list for movies from this year, but it didn't hit my top 10.
here's the thing. It hid for me because I could see Glenn Powell being that character. I could see him being a new Arnold type, like who's in a bunch of action movies. He's not like
Mhm.
as, big and bulky as Arnold, or at least you don't think he is necessarily and whatnot, but he could be a guy that does that stuff because I think he has mass appeal with both women and men and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, and Edgar Wright directing it, who did the closest thing I would compare it to is probably Scott Pilgrim versus the World and how that movie was shot.
Okay.
He did Baby Driver, Shaun of the Dead. I trust this guy with this movie. It's going to be sick.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure that
Josh
visually.
Brolin is playing the TV announcer.
Oh, okay. Is there a trailer for that yet?
Nope.
Okay. Man, we're so far away from some of these.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, like my hype level will probably go way up once I see the trailer for that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that too, but it just didn't hit my list. And then we're into the top
3.
So number 3 for me now is Fantastic Four: First Steps. I'm excited for this. I like the Fantastic Four. The other movies they've done, like I never even watched the last reboot they did of Fantastic Four movies. I've never seen it.
Me neither.
Or if I did, I watched part of it and got bored, but I honestly remember nothing about it. The
Yeah,
only thing I
no.
really know about that movie is that Michael B. Jordan later went on to play Eric Killmonger, and that was fucking stellar.
So that first one isn't bad. It's not a terrible movie,
Yeah.
It's in the vein of those Spider-Man movies and all the other Marvel movies that were coming out then that eventually shaped how the MCU would turn out.
Mhm.
But it's not bad. And then the second one is not the worst. It just there are choices made and plot elements that make it more boring, but Silver Surfer looked cool visually and everything, and
Mhm.
Julia Garner's playing the Silver Surfer, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this movie looks interesting to me in concept. As a kid, I remember growing up and watching the Fantastic Four cartoon a lot. It was on with Iron Man on Sundays when Spider-Man was on like Saturdays,
Yeah.
And I remember watching those, and that's where I really grew to appreciate Iron Man and the Fantastic Four. And Reed Richards helping out with some of the Spider-Man stuff like Carnage and things like that and symbiotes and all that. So I've enjoyed those storylines. So they've always been fascinating characters, and I'm excited to see them in the MCU. And so far, this seems decent, but I'm just trying to figure out how they shoehorn it into the existing MCU. I'm assuming they're from another universe,
Well, yeah, that's the thing is it's like an
multiverse.
alternate retro future universe where
Yeah.
the other Marvel characters don't exist. They're the only superheroes. And
So
I don't know how that's going to eventually collide, but I bet most of the movie does not revolve around that. And we only get like a hint of it at the end. That's what my guess is. That'll just be like a story for them.
yeah, I would imagine so. I just don't know. I just hope they don't do a regular origin story for this. I hope the team's established like once this movie starts going.
I don't know. We'll see for sure
mean,
because they
you've
are
already
teasing that launch footage thing. I'm sure you've seen, which seems
Yeah.
like it could go either way. But it
Yeah.
seems like it is possibly referencing their initial launch into space and everything that causes the whatever fuckery. But
Well, and if they do that just for some flashback scenes, I'm okay with that. Much like, I didn't need that for the last Spider-Man movie, right? We already saw 2 versions in the last basically since the year 2000, we've already seen 2 versions of Spider-Man.
I don't know
Same
what
thing
they
with
did in that last final or Fantastic Four movie. I didn't see it, but
I think they had to redo it all again, so which, to do another origin story when you've already done the origin story is kind of silly. Especially with some of these real big name characters when everyone already knows them all. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of Marvel and the Avengers, number 2, August 29th, The Toxic Avenger.
there you go.
This is
Yeah.
coming out from Cineverse now, finally. This movie has just been shelved for the last, 2 years, I think.
Mhm.
Have you seen the picture of Elijah Wood from this movie? It looks fucking insane, dude.
Fucking
Can't
amazing.
wait. Like, Peter
Hit
Dinklage as Toxic Avenger. This movie's gonna be crazy and just we'll see.
when I saw that poster, or not the poster, but that still image, it reminded me of Danny DeVito's The Penguin and the Leprechaun mixed together, and I was all for it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this looks just really fucking unsettling."
Yeah, that's a beautiful image.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
glad.
about time that that's coming out, right? That's one of those movies. When did they finish that? 22, 23?
At least, and then they were showing it at festivals, but nobody bought it for distribution. And I think my guess is after Terrifier 3 did so well in theaters, Cineverse was like, all right, we'll help you out with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because Terrifier 3 had no budget for a major release.
Yeah. Well,
And I mean
it
that
was
in a good way. It made so much money, but
well, for its budget versus what it made, it's incredible. But
mhm.
it's your number 2?
That's actually my number 2 as well. That's another one on there that I really wanted to see.
Nice. Sick. Well, and we're to my number 1, which is Final Destination Bloodlines,
Okay, there you go.
which is coming out May 16th. The trailer dropped today. Did you see
Mhm.
that trailer?
Yeah, I watched it in the tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a scene from the movie rather than a trailer, but it's cut down,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with this. I'm a big fan of these movies. Out of the 5 that have been made, I think 4 of them are great. One of them is kind of trash, so.
Yeah, I enjoy them, but it didn't make my list just because seeing that trailer today is interesting, but I'm like, I don't know why I give a fuck about this guy's character. So, I mean, it's fascinating, how this is all playing out in that room there, but it just,
To me, it
I'm,
just gave me what I wanted a little bit. I don't want to see the big accident in the trailer,
yeah.
so I like not knowing that. Although I think they've already revealed it and stuff, and I think I already remember it. But either way, rather not see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but we'll see. There's
Yeah.
just a lot of 90s franchise sequels this year,
It's okay, Yoshi.
which when you talk about
You okay, honey?
nostalgia movies, right? That's kind of where we're at. We're kind of,
He got his claw hooked to my notebook, and I tried to get it loose, and then he freaked out and fell on the floor with it. You okay, buddy?
he's like, fuck this list, man.
Oh. Darwin was like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah. So my number 1 is Captain America Brave New World. I've been waiting for this for a while. I really like Anthony Mackie is the Falcon, and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is one of the better Marvel series they did on Disney Plus. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how this movie pans out.
that's coming out in like less than 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. I really liked Anthony Mackie in that series too. The thing I'm gonna miss is Bucky being in this with him. I think that would
Yeah.
complete the dynamic for me, but I see why they put him in other stuff and what they're doing with it. To be honest, I'm less give a fuck about the Red Hulk thing. I'll give it a shot though. I mean, I'm not saying it'll be bad for sure, but it's just like, But I
Yeah.
get it. It's things that happen in the comics, and you want to bring those things to life, and you're like looking for what can you do, and that's a cool thing they haven't done. So I guess
Well, and when you look at it too, that is a character they recast, right? Harrison Ford.
And this
coming
thing,
in.
the problem is with Marvel movies is now, no matter what you do, you can't help but wonder the implications of this movie and what it's going to reveal about the future about other movies and where they're going with these new Avengers movies. Because we're all, no matter what, if you liked those other Avengers movies, the last two, you're going to be at least mildly stoked still for at least those movies in the Marvel cinematic stuff. But
Well, I just feel like it's gotten so big and so expansive with TV series and everything like that that it's really hard to really have it fine tuned. And I think that's why some enthusiasm for the MCU has kind of dwindled a little bit, right? There's just so much, and the quality hasn't been consistent there, especially with some of the streaming stuff. And I'd say the same goes for the Star Wars universe, right? You know, you're kind of in that same area where the saturation's kind of high and the quality hasn't been consistent. And so, too much of a good thing? Unsure.
yes, I think it kind of made me not give a fuck about Star Wars at all. But I mean, I haven't watched the originals in a while. At some point, I feel like I want to take an afternoon or something and watch all three. But
Now, see, my boys are into Legos and they started getting into Lego Star Wars. So I was able to show them the original trilogy at their request here recently. And that's the first time they've asked me, you know, when they started talking about it, it's like, well, do you want to watch the movies? And they said, yeah. And so I was like, okay, I wasn't going to force it on them. Like, if you're not interested, and I'm not going to make you watch it.
yeah,
So they really liked them. And we'll go to the prequels next and the sequel trilogy, you know, we'll get around to maybe. So I don't know. I think that it's just, we're in an interesting spot with that. Now, some other movies that are on here that I did want to mention just because they seemed interesting to me. Return of the Living Dead comes out in December. And this is supposedly a sequel that takes place shortly after the original movie. Watched the trailer for that earlier, and the trailer is not impressive.
it's mildly interesting, is all I said. It's just a shot of the tar man, or presumably a new tar man or whatever, dragging someone who's in the first movie. It's like an iconic character, so that's why it's like, hey. But yeah, it's, I don't know. That's a controversial movie. That's even just it happening because of the original people being snubbed out of it and stuff, from what I understand. So
Well, yeah, and I mean, you basically killed off tons of people at the end of that original. So, what are you really doing with that? You know, how do you bring them back? And then it already had sequels, so the fact that it's just called Return of the Living Dead, and there's no like subtitle to it, it is kind of annoying because it's like with Halloween now, like when you're fucking searching for, especially for streaming these days, so fucking annoying if a movie has the same title because you're like, am I looking for the original? Because you have to put the fucking year on it then at that point.
yeah,
And that's really just fucking lazy if you ask me. But zombies seem to have a big year here. So another zombie movie is called Crawlers. That seems kind of interesting to me. And then there's this movie. I don't know if this will even hit the theaters, but it's called STZ. Basically about attractive women that become zombies. And I'm not sure if they're like beauty pageant girls or what, but I saw that just kind of listed on some of the horror movies coming this year. And I was like, okay, so 4 or 5 zombie movies. So apparently they're really the big in thing again in 25.
weird.
Which, you know, I always appreciate a good zombie movie. Some of them are better than others, right? You know, they never really go out of style, but some years you get a ton of zombie stuff, some years you don't.
Yeah,
And
I'm picky with them, but
I feel like The Walking Dead really fucking beat the dead horse, though, for a while. So to see, you know, 4 or 5 in a year is interesting, especially when they're still allegedly doing Walking Dead movies and other series and spinoffs and shit. So,
yeah, they got like 3 Walking Dead shows going right now or something. At least 2.
mm-hmm.
Insane.
Yeah. And it's just, it's, you got to find the time to fit all that in. So, and then a couple other noteworthy movies that I'll be seeing just because, you know, kids, but the Minecraft movie, I'm sure the kids will want to go and see.
Yeah,
They fucking love that stuff, though. So,
yeah, it checks out. I mean, makes sense.
I mean, it hits their age range, right? And the Mario movie was surprisingly good. So,
Minecraft has been going for a while. Like when Lucas was
oh,
9,
I
he was
know.
into that shit. So
Yeah. So it's just a matter of what's going on with that. Um, Happy Gilmore 2 is supposed to come out this year.
Jesus.
The fact that they waited so long on this is the only thing that gives me hope for it. Because like you have the senior PGA tour, like, for older people, and so like do they qualify for that as opposed to being the younger guys they were early? That concept could be interesting.
Yeah.
And that original Happy Gilmore is one of those just fucking comfort 90s movies for me.
That and Billy Madison are the only two like still brilliant Adam Sandler movies that I can think of. Like there's other ones that he's in, like Airheads I still think is great, but that's not an Adam Sandler movie per se.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison are really his movies. They're
And then there's other ones I like still because I like 50 First Dates. And I like, if we're just talking, it's comedies because the other stuff is a whole nother thing. But
I mean, I fucking love The Wedding Singer.
yeah, that one's great too. Little Nicky's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Waterboys, it doesn't really hold up as well.
No, Waterboy's kind of hard to watch these days. Big Daddy's pretty funny, but it's not, again, one of those you don't want to watch all the time.
It's a little more dramatic. And then
Yeah.
I think this last one that's watchable, that's a comedy like that, is Click.
I haven't even seen that.
You haven't seen Click? It's where he gets a
No.
remote control. It's
Yeah.
like a TV controller. It controls his life.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I just haven't seen it.
Oh, you should give that one a watch. If you haven't seen it, at
Yeah.
least. It's worth it once.
So here's a movie that really had me scratching my fucking head. There's an Animal Farm movie coming out
Really?
this year, allegedly. I think it'll be animated, and it had Seth Rogen listed on it. Whether or not this is real or not is interesting because obviously that's satire, that's like anti-communism, like that whole book was about that. I remember reading that in school, um, but it was like listed as like a comedic movie, and I'm like a comedic animated movie, and I'm like, okay, that's slightly terrifying.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that because the
Caught my
world is on
attention.
fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
To be saying that communism is a problem right now is laughable.
Yeah. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 comes out this year. The first one wasn't bad, and again, like trying to get your kids into horror movies. I think that's a good place to start because that first one's pretty manageable. It's kind of on par with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. There's some scary stuff in there for a younger audience that they could handle, but
Yeah, I think good children's horror, you got to start with like Scooby-Doo, Courage the Cowardly Dog. If they're mildly into that at all. Then there's like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
There's lots of good children's horror out there. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan of that shit still.
Yeah, I mean, I love Scooby-Doo. I watch that all the time. My youngest, she's really into Scooby-Doo.
Damn right.
She's got the mystery machine that she plays with and the characters all the time. So, pretty excellent. A couple other things on there that caught my attention. Again, until we see trailers, though. Predator Badlands seems interesting. It looks like they're going to go theatrical release on this potentially.
That'd be fun.
And then...
See, I'm not like a huge Predator fan, but I do like the movies. At least I liked Predator. Like the ones that I would rewatch, Predator would be rewatchable for sure. Predator 2, because Danny Glover, Bill Paxton.
Gary Busey. Come on now.
Oh, yeah. And then Prey was really good too.
Yeah. I would go so far as to say Predators, Prey, Predator 2. Or I mean Predator, not Predators. Because that's one that doesn't even take place on Earth, but they kidnap people. That's fucking...
Predators is Robert Rodriguez directed, isn't it? Or is that... Am I making
I think
that
so,
up?
yeah. And that had Adrian Brody.
And Topher Grace.
Yeah, I mean, that one's entertaining.
It's not bad.
It's a good action movie. I'll give it that. And then Thunderbolts should be interesting.
Is that coming out this year?
Yeah.
I have mild interest in it. I mean,
Well, to your point, it has Bucky in there. It has some of the other anti-heroes in there that I thought had good portrayals, so I'm interested to see where those go.
yeah.
But again, it seems like we're going to have a ton of Marvel movies this year, which
We got 3, right?
yeah, it's 3, which, we've gone a couple years without having them all the time. But I'm still looking for, just movies that aren't sequels or movies that are like unique ideas. And The Woman in the Yard seemed pretty interesting.
I didn't put it on the list, but Hard Eyes, which is coming out next week.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that one. That one looks pretty interesting. And then I guess there's another fucking Saw sequel coming out this year.
Yeah. I haven't seen like the last 2 or 3, maybe.
I'm caught up through all of them. Some of them are better than others, but I'm just like, holy shit! Like, where do you fucking go now? Like, they pretty much like shut the door on everything that they could with this.
They did. It's maybe the most convoluted film franchise of all, and I say that with Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre existing.
Yeah, and multiple reboots and sequels, and then let's forget the sequels that we did and include some. It's just it's a mess.
Well, that's 2025.
Any TV
far.
series on your attention?
I mean, the Alien show. I'll at least try to watch. That's about it that I'm aware of.
I want to watch that. Stranger Things
Yeah,
comes out in the fall, 5, and I guess it's 2. Well, they're going to split it up in October for the first part and November for the second part, which I'm glad it's close.
the second part of season 2, or I guess season 3 of Squid Games, will be like in the summer, June, I think.
Yeah, that should be good. There's something else I want to say that seemed interesting, but I'm not sure when it's going to launch. I'm wondering if Welcome to Derry is going to be out this year.
Oh, on HBO? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. But TV, man, it's so hard to keep up with that because the advertising dollars just aren't there like they used to be. So, unless you see an advertisement on the streamer or you get word of mouth about it, you may be missing on a sleeper series. So, most of the series I'm aware of are a follow up or something to another program, movie or series itself. So,
On my birthday night, we went to Pizza Street.
okay.
I hadn't been in years, and I was like, I just want to do something cheap and fun and kind of nostalgic. We got a bunch of. They have like the old sticker machines in there, so I got like a whole bunch of. Well, they had tattoos as well, so I got a bunch of temporary tattoos that are horror themed out of there just for the nostalgic purposes, and made a little video out of it. But
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, they it's like $10 for the buffet now or something. I think we paid 24 with drinks for 2 of us, but
I remember that used to be like $2.99 or something fucking just absurd.
well, it was like all you can eat for $2.49. It was insane.
I mean, their drink cost as much as your pizza did,
Yeah,
and that's fine
but
because it was still like $5.
yeah, I mean, it's as far as buffets go, that's what a buffet is going to cost. And they got an ice cream machine. They got all the same desserts. So I had a slice of the cherry
Oh
pizza,
yeah.
slice of the apple. They had cinnamon rolls.
Okay. Yeah.
I went for the Alfredo pizza and cheese sticks, and I had they have macaroni and cheese there now, so I had some of that.
Nice.
But also got a she got me. She knows what I want. She went out the day before on my birthday and was looking for Terrifier 3 at Walmart.
Oh yeah.
She said she didn't find it, but then gave it to me that night at like midnight, so that was cool. And then
Oh, nice.
I got the birthday cake chocolate ice cream cake from Dairy Queen.
Mm.
That's
There
the
you go.
go-to now. She gets a cookie cake, and I get the ice cream cake every year
There you go. So you guys have your rituals.
because we're not into regular cake, neither
Yeah.
of us. So it's all about that fudge in the middle of that Dairy Queen cake. That's the
I used to make those when I worked at Dairy Queen for a while. Yeah. Sometimes you'd have like the pre-made inserts that would go in there, so you'd do your soft serve, and then you'd put the cookie crush and the fudge.
mm-hmm.
And then sometimes, if you didn't have those, you had the cookie crumble separate, and then the same type of fudge, and you can make them so much better when you could control the amount you're putting in there.
Oh yeah, I bet.
They should have that stuff as a blizzard treat. I used to make blizzards out of that shit when I worked there. That was good.
I bet. I then made
Nice
her
pancake
watch
blizzard.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Nice.
and then Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay.
Back to back. And I have come to the conclusion that Bogus Journey is better, but I do like both. They're pretty fucking solid.
The first one is just so silly. The second one has some very silly moments too, but
Well,
once
it
you
is
add
just as
death into
silly, I
there,
feel
man,
like, but yeah, death is such a cool element. Them being in
Uh-huh.
the like all pale and shit, ghostly, and the robot station, like that's just
yeah,
fucking cool. Plus, you get to see them as a band,
yeah, that's
all
true.
that shit.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's that. I guess we've been going for a while, so we can.
not even, yeah, just under an hour here. We're both getting the Twin Peaks Z to A set here soon, so
I'm still waiting on Rumpelstiltskin too.
yeah, and then I'm waiting on that Monster Squad VHS. I did order myself the same recorder that Dale Cooper uses, so that should be here by the time my Z to A arrives.
When you say that, I hope you realize that there are like probably
4 or 5. I know. I'm using the one from the
4,
pilot, I
5,
believe.
6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's like throughout it, there's a bunch of them that they ended up using, which is interesting. But because I was
Yeah.
researching that at some point.
Yeah, I got the one from the pilot, which is the one I wanted because like that's the first one you see. So to me, that's pretty iconic. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Out here trying to live my dreams.
All right. Well, we'll be back at it next week. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet. We'll see what's coming out. But we were going to try and talk Wolfman, but Alec never made it to that. So eventually we'll get around to it. Might have to talk about that when it comes out on home video then, so you can check it out.
For sure.
It's worth a conversation for, I'll tell you that. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back at it next week.
Good night, everybody.